Hi everyone! Today I am going to read you a story that I received when I was a little girl. As I said, when I was a little girl, my brother-in-law, who was married and still is married to my second oldest sister, would frequently bring me Beatrix Potter books. And I've seen them all over the place now. When I go to Value Village, there's always tons of them in those plastic packages that hang on the wall, and they've got some various small books in them. And I've kept them up until now. I'm 37, and I probably got them when I was, let's say, 10. So for almost 30 years, I'm sorry, I'm just doing my math. I was outside, my brain's frozen. I have had these books, and I have no thoughts about getting rid of them. But I thought that I would read them on here with you, and in case you don't have them, or you've never heard of them, or you can't find them, I wanted to share this with you. So this is the first book in the series, and there's 23 books. So this one is The Tale of Peter Rabbit, obviously written by Beatrix Potter. It's the original and authorized edition. So let's start. This is Peter Rabbit. I'm sure you've all heard about the story of Peter Rabbit in some way, shape, or form. I apologize for the background noise. That's my dogs wandering all over the place, not lying down like I asked. So here is the fun first little 2 pages of the characters of some of the Beatrix Potter books. And A Tale of Peter Rabbit. And there's Mama Rabbit tending to her bunny, and you'll find out why through the story. So let's begin. Once upon a time, there were 4 little rabbits, and their names were Flopsy, Mopsy, and Cottontail. And Peter, of course. They lived with their mother in a sandbank underneath the root of a very big fir tree. There they are, living under the fir tree. And there's Mama Rabbit. "Now, my dears," said old Mrs. Rabbit one morning, "you may go into the fields or down the lane, but don't go into Mr. McGregor's garden. Your father had an accident there. He was put in a pie by Mr. McGregor." Oh my gosh, can you imagine? Poor Mr. Bunny put into a pie. I would never do such a thing. "Now run along and don't get into any mischief. I'm going out." There's Mama. She's tending to her babies, and she's telling them, "I've got to do some errands, so don't get into any trouble." So then, looking at this picture, I'm assuming that Flopsy, Mopsy, and Cottontail are girls, and Peter is the only boy, because it looks to me like they have dresses on, and Peter has a blue jacket. Then old Mrs. Rabbit took a basket and her umbrella and went through the wood to the baker's. She bought a loaf of brown bread and 5 currant buns. There she goes. She must have maybe thought it was going to rain, or maybe it was going to be very sunny and she needed shade for her umbrella. Some people use an umbrella for shade. Flopsy, Mopsy, and Cottontail, who were good little bunnies, went down the lane to gather blackberries. There they are, gathering their blackberries, and they don't have their jackets on anymore. I wonder where their jackets went. Oh, wait, is that one on the ground? Possibly. But Peter, who was very naughty, ran straight away to Mr. McGregor's garden and squeezed under the gate. There he is, being a very naughty bunny. First, he ate some lettuces and some French beans, and then he ate some radishes. Oh, that silly Peter. And there's a bird sitting on the top of that, probably a shovel. And he's eating his carrots. And then, feeling rather sick, probably because he ate so much food, he went to look for some parsley. Parsley must make you feel better when you're feeling sick. But, oh no, round the end of the cucumber frame, whom should he meet but Mr. McGregor? Oh dear, I don't like the looks of this. Mr. McGregor was on his hands and knees planting out young cabbages, but he jumped up and ran after Peter, waving a rake and calling out, "Stop, thief!" Oh no, poor Peter, I hope he gets away. I don't want to make a pie out of Peter Rabbit. Peter was most dreadfully frightened. He rushed all over the garden, for he had forgotten the way back to the gate. He lost one of his shoes among the cabbages, and the other shoe amongst the potatoes. Uh-oh. Can you see his shoe? Right there. Oh no. After losing them, he ran on 4 legs and went faster, so that I think he might have gotten away altogether, if he had not unfortunately run into a gooseberry net and got caught by the large buttons on his jacket. It was a blue jacket with brass buttons, quite new. Poor Peter Rabbit. What do you think he's going to do with his jacket? I think he might have to take it off. Peter gave himself up for lost and shed big tears, but his sobs were overheard by some friendly sparrows who flew to him in great excitement and implored him to exert himself. They basically gave him the encouragement to just keep trying to get out of that situation. It's nice to have little bird friends to help you through those tough times. Mr. McGregor came up with a sieve, which he intended to pop a upon the top of Peter. But Peter wriggled out just in time, leaving his jacket behind him. Oh, just as I predicted. He lost his jacket. Oh dear. At least he's safe and he got away. And rushed into the tool shed and jumped into a can. It would have been a beautiful thing to hide in if it had not so much water in it. Uh-oh. Hope bunnies can swim. Let's see what happens next. Mr. McGregor was quite sure that Peter was somewhere in the tool shed, perhaps hidden underneath a flower pot. He began to turn them over carefully, looking under each. Presently, Peter sneezed. Kerchoo! Mr. McGregor was after him in no time. Here's his bunny ears popping out from the can. Oh dear. It's very stressful. And tried to put his foot upon Peter, who jumped out of a window, upsetting 3 plants. The window was too small for Mr. McGregor, and he was tired of running after Peter. He went back to his work. Oh, Peter's getting away. Mr. McGregor has given up on chasing Peter the rabbit. But he knocked over those pots in the meantime. Uh-oh. Peter sat down to rest. He was out of breath and trembling with fright, and he had not the least idea which way to go. Also, he was very damp with sitting in that can. After a time, he began to wander about, going lippity-lippity, not very fast, and looking all around. He found a door in a wall, but it was locked. And there was no room for a fat little rabbit to squeeze underneath. An old mouse was running in and out over the stone door step, carrying peas and beans to her family in the wood. Peter asked her the way to the gate, but she had such a large pea in her mouth that she could not answer. She only shook her head at him. Peter began to cry. Poor Peter. Oh no. Poor Peter. Will he ever get out of there? Then he tried to find his way straight across the garden. But he became more and more puzzled. Presently, he came to a pond where Mr. McGregor filled his water cans. A white cat was staring at some goldfish. She sat very, very still, but now and then the tip of her tail twitched as if it were alive. Peter thought it best to go away without speaking to her. He had heard about cats from his cousin, Little Benjamin Bunny. I think Little Benjamin Bunny told him what we all know about cats and bunnies. Cats might want to chase Peter. He went back towards the tool shed, but suddenly, quite close to him, he heard the noise of a hoe. Scratch, 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 scratch. Peter scuttered underneath the bushes, but presently, as nothing happened, he came out and climbed upon a wheelbarrow and peeped over. The first thing he saw was Mr. McGregor hoeing onions. His back was turned towards Peter, and beyond him was the gate. Peter got down very quietly off the wheelbarrow and started running as fast as he could go along a straight walk behind some blackcurrant bushes. Mr. McGregor caught sight of him at the corner, but Peter did not care. He slipped underneath the gate and was safe at last in the wood outside the garden. Yay for Peter! He got free! Mr. McGregor hung up the little jacket and the shoes for a scarecrow to frighten the birds. Oh, goodness. He took Peter's coat and shoes. Well, at least he reused them in a good way. A very clever way. Peter never stopped running or looked behind him till he got home to the big fir tree. He was so tired that he flopped down upon the nice soft sand on the floor of the rabbit hole and shut his eyes. His mother was busy cooking. She wondered what had he done with his clothes. It was the second little jacket and pair of shoes that Peter had lost in a fortnight. I am sorry to say that Peter was not very well during the evening. His mother put him to bed and made him some chamomile tea, and she gave a dose of it to Peter. 1 tablespoonful to be taken at bedtime. But Flopsy, Mopsy, and Cottontail had bread and milk and blackberries for supper. That's what they were collecting the blackberries for, I bet. The end. And there's our little Beatrix Potter characters again at the back of the book. I hope you really liked that book. I really enjoyed it, and I hope that you'll come back to hear book number 2, which is called The Tale of Squirrel Nutkin. So that's the end of this episode of reading Beatrix Potter books, and I will see you next time. Bye!